All right, we're live. Here we go. All right. Well, Kufar, Akbar, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Crossing the Crescent discussion group. We are here every Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. We normally go for about 2 hours, and we discuss everything between Christianity and Islam. And I see that the chat is getting a little more active, and I appreciate everybody showing up over there and entering their comments. Bree did not watch the debate, so this will be interesting. Well, I can just tell you right now, you really didn't miss much if you wanted to learn something. But if you just wanted to see a brutal beatdown, then it was quality entertainment, to say the least. And that's what we're going to be. That's what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be discussing the debate between Dr. David Wood and the freshman level PhD or freshman. How's that go, Rad? Freshman level doctoral student that he claimed to be when he was in a Facebook. I know, Paul, you don't have to get it. Rad's engaging this guy in a Facebook discussion. And he said that I'm a doctor. What did he say? He was a doctoral student?
He said he was a doctoral student of something tafsirs.
Okay.
And I don't know. And I'm like, really? And then I'm like, he's like, I'm the author of the book, blah, blah, blah. So I went to look up his book on Amazon. I'm like, I can't find it. Are you posting it? Or, are you publishing it under a pseudonym? He's like, no, it hasn't been published yet. And I'm like, then you're not really the author of the book. You can say you wrote a book, but you're not the author of the book. He said, no, all the seminars, all the classes I've taken, I write a book. They all say you got to promote yourself, that you're the author of the book. You haven't wrote the book. And he said, Marshall. You tagged Marshall. And then he said, see you in Black Pakistan. Enjoy your 30 days. And I didn't know what he meant by that. But then I found out later what he meant.
Yeah. There you go. You get banned every time you deal with the line of Dawa. Okay. So what was I saying? I was saying that we watched the debate last night. Rad and I actually watched it together. We sat there and had discussions about what was going on with it. And there really wasn't a lot to discuss. I have prepared some timestamps. And, I will tell you that we did a Google shared document, Rad and I did. And I wrote, I think, 72 different bullets.
I didn't do much. I was too busy laughing.
You wrote 4.
Yeah.
And then I had to remind you, Rad, we have a Google document here that we're taking notes on.
I was too busy laughing because David was like just tearing him apart, and he couldn't comprehend. I mean, dude, Kenny, if you're listening, I really don't mean this as an insult, but I understand you were a boxer. I understand you were a football player in high school. I'm sorry, dude, you got like serious reading comprehension problems and understanding problems. because David refuted you like, I mean, a gazillion times with your own source that you were using, and you're like, no, that's not what he says. No, that is what he says. You know?
And
I
this is
mean,
what we're going to get to it, Rhett. We're going to get to it.
okay, all right.
I first, I want to first put a picture of the debate here. This is the venue.
Wait, let me just say one more thing. I actually think next week the better the debate was the one that came before that with the other Muslim.
We were watching it, yeah.
Yeah, he was actually making better sense for the case of child marriage, and I think the Christian didn't do so good. But of course, the Christian won, obviously. But no, seriously, I didn't think he did too good. I think the other guy made a, well, I shouldn't say good cases, but a better case for child marriage. Not that I'm going to get me a child bride, but because that's just you. But no, seriously, I mean, he did a really good job, I thought. So I think next week we should do it.
Well, that might be a good topic. I'm going to end up watching that debate because it was really kind of drew my interest as you and I were sitting there talking. How did Bomer do last night? Well, Aisha, I will let you decide. After we get a look at what's going on here. Okay, the first observation that I want to make here is in the last debate, the imam here was talking about all the books on his table that cite sources, that talk about sources, that refer back to the hadith, that discuss that Aisha might have been something other than 9 years old. So I think what David is doing here, if you look over on his desk, on his table, can you see my arrow? You can't see my arrow, but look at his table here. You look at his table, those are all the hadith collections that he cited from, to include the Quran, to include some tafsir. So I think he was doing that intentionally based on what Kenny was saying. Look at all these books I got here. All these books say that in the last debate, all these books say that she was or could have been something other than 9.
And so he only had like 5 books with him.
Okay, so when you look at
their paperbacks,
so when you look at David here, he brings all of these collections of Sahih or all hadith and reads from them. It just made for some good theater. Let me just leave it at that. It did make for some good theater. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I want to play a clip. Because this was classic Wood. There's two lines when in David's opening statement. Of course, he starts out with this challenge, wanting to know if anybody's there to kill him, if anybody's going to go on a jihad, and try, that's always comical when he does that. But then he made this statement about this line about it. I'm seeing fiend that made a preteen scream. Did you guys catch that one?
Yes.
That was if it wasn't true, it would be sick. No, if it wasn't true, if it wasn't, it would be sick. But since it is true and people argue against it, it's absolutely hilarious. But this one is the one that I enjoyed. Let me play it for you guys. Let me know if you can hear it.
51:25.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Narrated Aisha, Allah's messenger said to me, you were shown to me in a dream. An angel brought you to me, wrapped in a piece of silken cloth, and said to me, this is your wife. I removed the piece of cloth from your face, and there you were. I said to myself, if it is from Allah, then it will surely be accomplished. So, a man in his 50s had a dream about an angel giving him.
That's not it. I'm sorry, I missed it. Okay, here it is.
We find Muhammad's favorite pickup line.
That was it. Muhammad's favorite pickup line is, you were given to me in a dream, and therefore I get to do whatever I want. Is something the same? Wasn't it the same thing with his daughter-in-law or the wife of his adopted son, where he had some type of dream or some type of revelation where he could do these type of things? Yeah, same thing. Okay. And then this one kind of caught my ear. And I didn't realize this. He's talking about a chapter in Bukhari. Let me see here. Yeah, let's play that.
The chapter heading in this passage of Bukhari is giving one's young children in marriage is permissible. Giving one's young children in marriage is permissible.
Okay, now think about that for a second. This is a chapter heading in the most trusted and authentic collection of ahadith. So giving one's children is permissible in marriage, acceptable and permissible in marriage. And why is that permissible and acceptable in marriage? Because it's sunnah. It's what Muhammad did according to the rest of the ahadith collection. Anybody else want to chime in on that one or not? Because we're going to get into Kenny's opening statement here.
Yeah, because it goes against what Jesus says, that if you offend little girls, little ones, so it's like what Jesus said, here comes the devil, Allah, saying the opposite. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where this is why I'm always perplexed when people don't argue it more strenuously that the God of the Bible and the God of the Quran are the same gods. No, they're not. I mean, the character of the God is revealed in those scriptures, if you want to call the Quran scripture. And what we find in the Bible, we find a completely different God. For example, for divorce, when we find out what the criteria for divorce is, you find out the criteria for divorce in the book of Leviticus or Genesis, one of the two. Anyway, and then also Christ expounds on it further, give the criteria for divorce. Well, the criteria for divorce, and then he says that the only acceptable criteria for divorce is marital infidelity. Well, then you go to the Quran, it's because you've lost your want of her. When you look at what Muhammad said or what the Hadith have to say as far as what was it, Zanib? Well, Zanib and Zainab. Which one's the son? Zanib was the son, the adopted son, and he divorces Zainab. Why?
It's Zayd.
Okay, well, he divorces his wife because he no longer needs her. Yeah, no longer
divorces her so his father can have sex with her.
Well, it's,
legally.
the Hadith said that this is because he no longer wants her. So that's a justification for divorce. When you compare that to the biblical justification for divorce, it's completely different. So did you just say that the same God of the Bible and the same God of the Quran is absolutely ridiculous to make those types of comparisons?
I just want to chime in real quick. I'm not going to give too much away, but there was a reason why David was spitting out the rhymes. I'm just saying, wait for it to come. There's a reason why David was spitting out the rhymes. Soon to come. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So here we are talking about Kenny in his opening monologue, which he read directly off of his computer. It was really exciting to watch, where he makes an argument for any religiously minded marriages is ethical, he says.
So was Muhammad's marriage to Aisha, alhamdulillah, ethical? Peace and blessing be upon them both. What we should be asking ourselves is, how can a religiously valid marriage be anything but ethical? I'd like the world to remember this, if nothing.
Okay, so if this marriage, which evidently Muhammad received some type of revelation that he was supposed to be married to this 9-year-old girl, how can that be unethical?
Well, he's missing a very important point. Number one, the definition of marriage is not it's not in, the word marriage isn't in the Quran. It's sex. The word they have is the F word. So he's really messing that up.
Yeah, I just did not see, just posted a video on Zainab. Oh, hold on, let's see. Who's this? Nicodemus. Just posted a video on Zainab. Should get a big bang out of it. Modert means that, I don't know what that means.
Meets. M-E-E-T-S, meets.
What?
Meets. M-E-E-T-S, 2 E's.
Modert means,
It's a typo. That's a typo.
Okay, I get it now. All right. Let's see here. Let's go to 2602. See, I'm at 2601. All right. Here we are. There's okay. This is my fave right here. Whoops. Here we go.
Debate. There's no written record of anyone accusing the Prophet, peace be upon him, of any wrongdoing, and no one claiming that this marriage was unethical before the year 1905. This is strictly a slander produced in modern times. And for
Okay, a couple things here. Notice he says nobody claimed that this was unethical before 1905. I don't know if that's true or not. And there may be something out there that contradicts him or refutes what he said there, because we have all kinds of things to refute him on what he said. I'm not sure if that's true, but even if that is true, let's just pretend for a second. Let me go along. Let me pray Christian Prince here. I'm going to go along with you on this one, Kenny, and let's just pretend that there isn't anything out there before 1905 criticizing Muhammad for his marriage to a prepubescent little girl. If Muhammad is supposed to be the standard of conduct for all time, wouldn't that include 1906, 1940, 1973, 2010, 2020? Wouldn't that include these dates also, if he isn't supposed to be, in fact, a standard of conduct for all time? So to sit there and say, well, nobody accused him or said it was an illegitimate marriage until 1905, well, let's just go ahead and back it up with the people's knowledge and understanding of Islam in the Western world prior to that. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have bat phones and where we can get any information that you want to at the drop of a hat. You didn't have Google. You didn't have microfiche at the library. But now, with more advancements and the rise of knowledge, the information age, we do have these advances. We do have this knowledge. We can access this stuff. And maybe it's because that since we can access this stuff now, maybe there is a critical analysis of what Muhammad did. And, oh, by the way, if we back that up to Islamic lands where all this information was generally understood and known, supposedly, what happens to people who criticize Muhammad in Islamic lands?
That'd be murder.
Yeah, they didn't end up. Their ending was poorly.
Beheaded.
But it's actually worse than that, Eric, because okay, so
Yes.
no. It's his argument is actually worse than that. Okay, as you stated, Muhammad is the perfect example to mankind for all time, and okay, so since there was nothing wrong. Nobody criticized him for doing anything wrong. No Muslim, no nothing. It was perfectly normal to have sex with a 9-year-old girl, and nobody criticized him for it. Then why does Kenny have a problem with it in the modern age? Do you see what I'm saying? He's using his 21st century Western ideas of morals, and that's a good thing, Kenny. It's a good thing that you have that. Unlike the other Muslim who actually argues that no, there's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, child marriage it should be the norm. Okay, that's what he argued. He actually made sort of a good case, but not really. But anyway, well, he made a better case, okay, than Kenny did denying it, because that Muslim knows that Muhammad is the perfect standard for mankind, and he knows that all the sources actually say she was 9 years old, and he actually knows that Muhammad, since Muhammad is the perfect example of mankind, and all the sources say that she was 9 years old, he must accept that she was 9 years old. So therefore, it is the Western morality that says having sex with a 9-year-old girl is wrong, not the Islamic idea that marrying, having sex with a 9-year-old girl is wrong. And Kenny is arguing for the leftist liberal position, okay? Whereas the previous Muslim, was actually arguing for the Islamic position. I thought he did a really good job on that. But yeah, still not converting to Islam, still not going to marry a 9-year-old girl. But anyway, but no, that's where Kenny is stuck. And that's actually a good thing, Kenny. Okay? And as David Wood said at the end, there's a simpler solution. Just give up on Islam, because I mean, in order for him to come to these conclusions, he has to do what he does. But anyway, let's continue. Let's watch what he does. I mean, it's just amazing.
Well, I sent Kenny an invite. I emailed him an invite to come to the show today to defend his performance last night, but I didn't get it, and I didn't expect a response.
Right.
I just thought I'd put that out there. All right, so we're going to 28. 28. This is close enough.
But even in the admitted confusion of David Wood, he chooses to accuse and convict Muhammad, peace be upon him, by relying on the opinions of some classical scholars while ignoring other classical scholars who have rejected what has been proven to be questionable and fabricated hadith.
Okay, so he is citing classical scholars, but rejecting other scholars in order to prove his point. This makes zero sense in the world. And I mentioned this last week when we were doing a critique on their debate last year in preparation for this one this week. David Wood is going to the most trusted sources in Islam and citing directly from them. Kenny is going to commentaries in order to create some type of confusion, some type of muddlement of what the facts are, in order to create a westernized version of Muhammad, to act as if there's some type of confusion between between Muslim scholarship. David cites Ibn Kathir, and this was a brilliant point. Ibn Kathir says that there is no doubt. I don't have David saying this, but even if you go to the commentary on, let me just do that. Let me go to the commentary.
Well, he does say that. I believe he does cite that word for word, where he says there is no doubt. Okay. I listened to, that's I think that's in his introduction.
Yeah, I think it was too. Let me find Ibn Kathir, Ibn Majah. Where's Ibn Kathir? Ibn Abu Dawud, Mafud, Bukhari, Majah. Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong one. Ibn Kathir. I'm looking at Hadith. Ibn Kathir, and I think he says in 60. It is commentary on 65:4. 65:4. Go. There are two opinions. First, saying that it's been reported menopause, menopause. For those who are pregnant, they're ida, For those who are pregnant, make easy to command at the meeting. Okay, so I don't think this is in reported. Okay, so they sought permission. Abdullah, the narration. Come on, Abdullah wrote, died. Okay, I'm not. Okay. For those who are pregnant, is that, and whether divorce, okay. Scholars say that, and this is based on the honorable ayah. A man can't, okay, well, what the heck? Courses. Those in menopause, for your young women, for them in Ida. Okay, okay. And for those who are pregnant, they're Ida, and it's not in this one. I guess it's not in this, his commentary on this specific verse. Let's see, down 3 months if those have no courses. Based upon the honorable ayah mentioned, and a man. All right, I'm wasting your time. I'll find it later. But David does cite Ibn Kathir when he says that. I'd have to go out and find. Maybe one of you guys could go find that for me, where Ibn Kathir discusses and said that there is no doubt that Aisha was 9 years old. Okay, let's bounce back over to okay, and also I'm also put out there. David Wood read from 5 of the 6 compilers of Hadith literature. 5 of the 6. He read narrations from 5 of the 6 compilers of Hadith literature, in which all of them say this. Every single one of them says this. She was 9 years old. All of them directly say this. How you can get away with this, and never once, if you'll notice, if you go in there and watch the whole debate, never once does Kenny ever offer up any hadith literature.
I've got that hadith right now.
All right, go ahead. What is it?
It's the prophet married her when she was 6 years old and consummated the marriage at the age of 9. There is no dispute among anyone on this matter. Ibn Kathir, Volume 2, page 141. It's here. I mean, it's actually in 2 books. One was, I can't pronounce the name of the books, but
It's okay. All right.
it's said it's definitely there.
But it is attributed to Ibn Kathir.
Yeah, and I'll put the link. I'll put the link in private, so if somebody could share it out.
Okay. Yeah, it was
Right.
Ibn Kathir is one of the most trusted sources in tafsir tafsir literature. Probably one of the most authoritative sources of the text.
And they have the Arabic here too. So I put it. Somebody could take that and put it in the comments. So I can't. I just don't have a YouTube open.
But notice that he never once cites anybody from the tafsir. Never once does he do this. Okay,
because he destroys himself.
Yeah, well,
that's the only logical part that Kenny had, that he does feel some remorse that Muslims have this love. Some Muslims find it acceptable that any Muslim who considers Muhammad the perfect man has to consider this acceptable behavior. That's from.
Okay.
To say it's, yeah.
Okay, listen to what Kenny says in this one. This one is beyond belief that somebody from sitting in his chair would make this statement about David Wood.
Also repeating one another on the issue in a similar way that David Wood, by example, repeats and uses the works of Sham Shimon from the Answering Islam website. And as we've seen in our current political environment, when lies are repeated often enough, they become facts in the minds of uneducated and gullible people.
What did he call people?
Uneducated. This is the guy who barely has an education. I honestly am impressed that he graduated from high school, because I don't think he could do it today.
There was this little saying that when you got one finger pointing at somebody, you got 3 more pointing back at yourself.
In his case, there'd be too many fingers.
Well, he's okay. So he's sitting there. Here you have a guy is saying that uneducated. Okay, the first one, he said gullible. Okay, I get that. But he said uneducated. So here he's having a debate with the guy that holds a PhD, saying that anybody that goes to Sam Shimon's website and uses that material is uneducated. So,
that's not Sam Shimon's website, by the way.
What's that?
It's not Sam Shimon's website, by the way.
Islamic awareness, and I don't. Who runs that thing?
I forget who.
German. It's some guy in Germany, I believe, and he's actually a scholar. And it's been around since the late 90s.
Now Sam has helped contribute to it big time, but it's not his site. So
right. I know Sam is one of the main contributors in articles and research to the site itself. But I've been to that site several times, and I've looked at the arguments that Sam makes in a lot of these different positions, and I do notice one thing. Sam cites sources. Sam bibliography.
He not only cites sources, he buries them in sources. I mean, literally buries them.
Well, that's called scholarship. And that's
no,
what
that's how
can't compare.
That's what the guy that runs it demands. I was talking a while ago. Anthony Rogers was saying, "Yeah, you don't know when you submit an article to him, he will send it back, reject it more times than he will accept it. He will tell you why. You need to cite every single source. You cannot just assume." And he will correct punctuation and grammar. And I mean, no, he's really strict. I think his name is Jochin or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said his name out loud. No, that's not his name. Never mind. Forget I said it.
And one of the funny things that we were doing last night, when they were doing the Q&A, people were coming up and asking questions. And behind the people who were presenting the questions to David Wood and Kenny Bomer, there was a large gentleman sitting behind the people as they're being filmed asking these questions. And they looked an awful lot like that biker who's in jail for that.
Hey, that's my evil twin, evidently, dude.
Hey, look at there. There's Brad in the audience because accuse this guy because he looks just like that guy that Doyle put out there. This is bad right here. Okay. Let's see here. Here he goes, citing modern scholarships. Okay, so the uneducated and gullible people. And okay, so this is also saying that you're not gullible yourself for converting to Islam, not knowing all of the facts before you did so. You know, this is just a subjective statement when you're supposed to be citing objective facts in a debate. And this was just kind of one of them sophomoric claims that you would expect from somebody that is a freshman level PhD student. Okay, so we're going to go to 3301 here. 3303, 30.
Please understand, we're not mocking PhD students. We're mocking the guy who claims he is such a thing because it doesn't exist.
And that was just kind of an oxymoronic statement.
Lawyers present evidence in court. They often bring in expert witnesses in forensics, by example. The lawyers themselves don't break down the specifics about forensics. They have the experts do it, and in turn, the lawyers give an overview of those findings of those experts via bullet points to either confirm the evidence or to establish reasonable doubt. And that's what I did in the previous debate.
No, you didn't.
He destroyed his entire argument by bringing that up.
Right. Yeah, I established reasonable doubt in the first debate. No, you didn't. You didn't establish anything other than you can't find anything in your own source. You had, and like I said, look at the books that David Wood has on his desk here, on the table here. He read straight from them. He read from the Quran, 65:4. He read from the ahadith literature from 5 of the 6 different most popular compilers of ahadith literature, which were compiled, oh, by the way, 250 years after. We're getting to that. 250 years after the death of Muhammad. And he also cites tafsir. And what does Kenny cite? Well, Kenny's citing people's opinions on that literature. And they got into this big argument.
Hold on. Let me just defend Kenny here. Kenny did make a great case in the last debate for having that he has reasonable doubt in Islamic scripture. And the problem is, Kenny, if you have reasonable doubt in your own scripture, your own Islamic scripture, then why are you a Muslim? Okay, and that's the thing. Your whole case is, well, I wasn't there, so I don't know. Well, Kenny, were you there in the cave? So how do you know he got the revelation from Muhammad? If you can't trust the Islamic sources, those same Islamic sources that you were thrown under the bus of the age of Aisha are the same Islamic sources that say Muhammad got a vision or got a message from Gabriel in the cave. Okay? Kenny, I mean, seriously, how do you know he went to the temple on the winged jackass? Okay? All right? You know, whatever it was, the Baraka. Okay? Because those same Islamic sources that you're throwing in the bus that you say you have reasonable doubt in are those same sources. And as David Wood points out, how do you know anything about Islam? If this is your position, Kenny, then really, dude, I mean, do any of you have any doubt in the Holy Bible? No. If I did have any doubts, I would question that doubt and I would resolve those doubts. But I have nothing wrong with anything that is said in the Holy Bible. Good, bad, ugly, in between. Okay? Even the textual variants, even those that, well, they may, you know, they may not be they may not be in original sources. They could be, you know, word of mouth kind of things that were later incorporated. Okay, it doesn't matter. I have faith in that. I believe in that, and I didn't have to be there to know it's true, because it is true. Okay? Seriously, Kenny, think about this. Think about what you're arguing. You are arguing against your own position. Why? Because you cannot fathom, you are disgusted by it, that if Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl, he cannot be the perfect man. He says it over and over again. I can't find him guilty of this. Why would you find him guilty of this? He's the perfect man. He is perfectly ethical. So having sex with a 9-year-old girl is perfectly halal from Allah. Period. End of discussion. Anyway, sorry to rant. Let's keep going.
Well, it's good. It's good that he has a higher sense of morality than Muhammad does. You know, and making that statement about being so dismissive of the Hadith literature, is, you know, like you said, we are not ashamed of all of the Bible, all of the contents of the Bible, all of it being God breathed, God inspired for men to write. We're not ashamed of it, and we would be more than happy to defend any of it. But when he gets to 65:4, look how dismissive he is of it, and we're gonna be discussing this. Okay, this next one, conflicting evidence. Okay, let's go to that. Wait a second. 34. There we go.
Conflicting statements in a trial. An honest person would only conclude that there's no way to convict the accused because the evidence is, again, debatable based on conflicting views of the experts that may cause doubt and, yes, the confusion that David Wood has admitted to in his recent video. So there must be standards to go by, not the double standards of a person like David Wood, but fair, objective standards.
All right, so fair, objective standards. So please explain.
I don't think that's fair. I think it's an ad hominem attack right there, because he's like,
Yes.
David Wood is not, not unlike David Wood. I'm like, but you're debating. You should give credence and validity to your opponent. That's like a good debate. You don't just say, "Oh, I don't agree with anything that they say." I mean, that's not like common, debate courtesy. And also,
Well, I don't think Kenny has that knowledge of what is common debate courtesy. I think you're right, Ethan.
And another issue that I have with this situation is, because seeing the first debate, I don't really think there was a case made. Like, you're like, oh, I find that there's reasonable doubt, but I think Rod makes a valid point. You say, hey, there's reasonable doubt. Well, if you want to take that position, then maybe you find a reasonable doubt in everything. And is that something you want to do? And then also, I feel the case got kind of counteracted because he was like, well, I trust whatever the Prophet of Islam does. Like he made that argument in this new debate. He's like, well, this is holy. So I'm like, which position are we taking? Are we taking the position that that it's debatable? Or are we taking the position that the Prophet is holy? Like, these two positions don't work in favor with each other. They kind of counteract each other.
Well, go ahead.
Another point, he keeps saying over and over again, this is a trial. You do not find someone guilty. How can you find Muhammad guilty of anything if he is the perfect ethical example? Then again, having sex, marrying, he was married, so that makes it beautiful. He was married and having sex with a 9-year-old girl. Whatever you may think of it in this modern day and age, okay? Since he is the perfect moral example, there's nothing to put him on trial for. He can't be found guilty of something that he himself claimed is perfectly moral, the perfect moral example. You know what I mean? Either he is your perfect moral example, or you are judging him, okay, and saying, no, that could be. So you have, like you said, Eric, and David said, that Kenny has more of moral authority than Muhammad. He is acting in a more moral way, more ethical way than Muhammad. And this is the problem, Kenny. For instance, let's say that Jesus Christ, he wouldn't do this, obviously, but let's say the Bible said Jesus Christ married and had sex with a 9-year-old girl, and I was a Christian. I would have to believe that. I would have to sit there and say, yes, because he is the Son of God, he is the example, he did this. But of course, because he is the Son of God, he did not do this. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not kind of either or, dude. Either he is or he is not your moral authority. Anyway, I'm done ranting. Sorry.
Okay. He said something about conflicting. Excuse me. He said there's something about conflicting evidence. If there was conflicting evidence, you could not convict somebody in a court of law. Well, this is, we're not talking about being in a court of law.
Right.
What we're doing is we're talking about evaluating the totality of the evidence, the preponderance of the evidence. This would be more like a civil trial where we would decide, well, which one has more validity to it as opposed to the other. And when he says that you have conflicting evidence, I didn't hear any. I didn't hear one citation from him that conflicts with the 5 ahadith compilers that David Wood read from on that table. There was no conflicting evidence that he provided. other than opinions. And that would be, as I said last week, that would be going to a commentary and then getting your scripture from commentary. You don't get your scripture from commentary. You get your scripture, you get the truth, and you go to the original source. You don't go to the commentaries in order to establish your case. You go to the original sources.
That's where he's not. That's why I keep saying this man is not cognitively ready to debate. It's bad.
Okay.
It's bad.
My question
And
is,
this is I'm the retired special ed teacher. So please understand when I'm saying he's not cognitively ready, he's demonstrating he's not.
That's cool. I love special ed. My question is, like, what case is being argued here? Because there's a lot of cases that seem to be argued in this court of law. Usually when you go to a court of law, you have like one case that you're arguing, and you're doing your discovery for that case, and you have your premise for the one case. What is the case? I'm not sure what the case you're arguing for is here.
The title of the debate was is Muhammad's marriage to Aisha moral. That was the topic of the debate. What Kenny's trying to do is she's trying to say, yes, the marriage was moral because Aisha wasn't 9 years old. That's his whole premise behind it.
He also played it off another thing where he said it's moral because they were married. Circular reasoning.
This is a religious marriage. Since when is a 54-year-old man crawling on top of a 9-year-old prepubescent girl religious? Any time.
And consummate. Well, let's get to that consummated part.
We're getting there.
Yeah, let's say we're getting ahead of ourselves. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. 35, 40. Let's see. What am I doing here? 34, 45, 40. Close enough. All right. Here we go.
Objective standards. So addressing the principles of Hadith standards and their acceptance with the Institute of Islamic Jurisprudence on the Dar al-Ifta website, principle number 3 says clearly, scholars can disagree about the authenticity of a particular hadith. They say, and I quote, since classifying hadiths is based on the independent research of each scholar, sometimes we find mixed opinions of expert scholars regarding the authenticity of a particular narrator or hadith.
Okay. So again, this is a subjective interpretation of the hadith. You can say anybody come up with anything they want to, but here's what I want to do. I want to go to right here. This is let me bring this up. Nope, that's not it. Let me do this. Present, crop screen, present, share screen, and here it is, right here. Okay, this document or this PDF here is, let me bring it up here. This is Tabari, Al-Tabari, who's the greatest the great Islamic historian. Al-Tabari was commenting, writes an entire book commenting on the Ahadith of Bukhari. And so here's what Tabari says about Bukhari. Now think about Sahih Bukhari. Sahih Bukhari is the most trusted. Please understand this. Out of all the compilers of Ahadith literature, he is the most trusted compiler. And here's what Bukhari says about the rating of the hadith found in Bukhari. Right here, he says the Sahih of Imam.
Zoom it in for us.
That is zoomed in.
Can you zoom it in more?
All right.
Hit the plus.
Hit the plus. Yeah.
You're all being high maintenance here. Hold on. Now
there you
go. Get it down here. All right. Where am I at?
Go down one more to make it full. Yeah, go down one more.
You guys are killing me. Hold on. Let me.
We're old
minus
with old eyes.
Or you can reduce it, or you can get rid of the right.
What the heck am I doing now? Doggone it.
You're scrolling.
You guys are all right. Sorry. Where did I go?
Keep going.
I have no idea.
That line. Were you at the line? Oh, brother.
All right. So this is Al-Bari. Okay, this is the biography. This is where Tabari is commenting on. Let's see. Was this it? I had this.
There it is. Al-Bukhari's notion to compile a Shahi
No,
known as Sahih al-Bukhari. There, the Sahih,
The
known as
lines
Sahih
on the right,
al-Bukhari.
the lines on the right donate your search criteria. So whatever you search,
here it is. I
on
got it
those
right
lines.
here. All right, here it is. All right.
Sahih of Imam Bukhari is a collection of
Okay,
the
here it is.
Sahih
Okay,
Hadith.
Sahih of Imam Bukhari is a collection of the Sahih Hadith specifically, not a collection of the only Hadith that scholars should use. The scholars themselves state a Sahih Hadith has about a 99 to 100% chance of being entirely accurate. A Hassan, 85 to 99%, Daif, 45 to 85%. And this is the widest band of accuracy. Even a fabricated hadith has a 0 to 45% of being accurate, since the grading was given grading it was given may have been wrong, or the fabricator may have spoken the truth in this instance. So weak hadith should not be treated as like fabricated hadith, because of an 85% of being entirely accurate is a very high chance. If a person received 85% on a test score, would he throw out saying that it isn't worth anything? But the fact that I want to show here is right here. Sahih Hadith, the scholars themselves say that a Sahih Hadith has a 99 to 100% chance of being authentic. This is Al-Tabari commenting on what the scholars say. You know, those very people that Kenny was supposedly supposed to be citing, the scholars.
Right.
Tabari is citing the scholars, and they are definitely at odds with what the Imam evidently had to say. And that was that, well, we don't know. They're in disagreement. No, the scholars are not in disagreement at all. The scholars, according to Tabari, will say that the Sahih Hadith that David Wood was citing, there's a 99% to 100% chance that they're authentic. But when you cite over 10 of them, 10 separate ones from 5 different sources, saying that she was 9 years old, and you yourself do not cite even one that she was some other age, you have a problem.
Yeah.
You have to climb that mountain of scholarship that you're claiming to point to. And the fact of the matter is that you can't climb that high for all kinds of different reasons. Okay. Does anybody want to say anything else about that?
I do.
That right there is a death nail in an argument. Yeah.
I think going back to the court case of this is the trial of reasonable people. That's the statement that's used a lot. I think we need to understand what is the case that's here. So the case argument that we're discussing is that Aisha was not 19 years old, or was not 9 years old. I think this is an interesting question, because if this is the case, and there are people who argue that if you're taking, because I noticed in his first debate, he said, I'm not arguing for anything. That's what he said. He said, like, I don't argue for or against it. This is something that he kept repeating over and over in the conversation. And I think that the issue with that is it makes the argument weaker. You have to take a stand in some position. You got to say, look, I disagree with these scholars. I think that they're wrong in this position. I think that the Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah consensus is incorrect. And I want to propose, maybe I'll take the Shia position and say that this or some other kind of minority position. That would be more of like a stronger argument, because it is difficult. It is going to be difficult to argue as a Sunni this position that she's not 9 years old. So I think that this is, it's something that has to be considered. Are you taking this Sunni position or not?
He is trying to take, he's claiming he does, but he's not. And the reason why he's not taking the classical Sunni position, excuse me, is because it's embarrassing. And it clearly demonstrates that if anybody did want to try to emulate or follow this pattern of conduct that is good for all time, it'll land them in prison. And so this is why, and also it would also, do I have it up here? I do have it here someplace there. Nope, that's not it. I'll find it. As a matter of fact, I put it in my slideshow. It's also a mental disorder, according to the DSM. It's a mental disorder in order to have this type of attraction to young children. We'll get to that. All right, let's go to this next clip.
I wanted to add one last thing. I wanted to add. Look at him. Can you show that video clip for a second? Look at what he's wearing, the kind of clothing he's wearing. Can we see the video? You see, he has henna in his beard. He has the kufi. This is a very traditional Sunni outfit. You know, it's an interesting thing. I think in most places he would be taking kind of the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah position. So it's interesting that he's saying, I don't want to take this position. I think it's easier to take, you know, it's hard, it's controversial, but taking the Jonathan Brown position where he says, look, this is what Islam is, and this is, you know, whatever the prophet does, he's the emissary of God, and that's okay. You know? I think that important thing to, you know, it's okay to own your faith.
Is wearing sweatpants part of that traditional garb? He's wearing
sweatpants. That's a hip hop iteration. That's the hip hop addendum.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he should be wearing a dress.
Well, that's what that guy in the previous debate.
That's what Daniel was. Yeah.
He was to hang it out there. Okay, let's listen to this next clip.
Number 5 says, how they're answering the question, how authentic is a Sahih Hadith? And do we leave, so how authentic is a Sahih Hadith? They say the following, and I quote, Imam Ibn al-Salah, the renowned Hadith expert, states in his Muqaddimah that just because a Hadith is given the status of being Sahih or reliable does not necessitate that in actual fact it is undeniably Sahih or reliable.
Okay, so this scholar is throwing Al-Tabari. Scholar's throwing Al-Tabari under the bus. This guy says it. Al-Tabari doesn't know what he's talking about. And this is why it's just we find this also in Christianity. I mean, this isn't just something that you find in Islam. This is something we also find in Christianity, 411 here, where you find left-leaning or liberal theologians doubting sacred scripture, not attributing the gospels to the actual gospel writers because there might be something that's problematic, sounds different, or having Isaiah being written by 3 different people. This is what they come up with, and you're going to have disagreement. But that doesn't make it true, especially when the totality of the evidence points towards something different. And the totality of the evidence, the Sahih evidence, says that she was 9. And when we start talking about what is Sahih and what is a sound, or what is universally accepted sound hadith, Tabari says 99 to 100% chance if it's Sahih, it's going to be authentic. And then when you find the same thing from all 5 different you have this convergence of the evidence, and you don't provide any additional anything to the contrary, you lose. Your position loses. Period. Regardless of how much lipstick you're going to try to put on that pig.
Eric.
Yep, go ahead.
I like the word that Tabari uses. He uses the word accurate. It's 99 to 100% accurate. And Kenny's going, oh no, because here I've read this and it doesn't say that. So, it sounds like Kenny is not wanting to argue for Islam. He's actually arguing against Islam. So, like David said, why are you even in Islam? You're not stepping forward and giving, true, accurate sources.
Well, I've watched a lot of the things that Kenny has said about how authentic Islam, or how referring to the validity and the veracity and how dependent Islam is on the hadith literature. And I went looking last night on his channel because I remember him specifically saying, we can know everything that we need to know about Islam by going to the hadith literature. I remember him saying, he might not have said it exactly like that, but he said words to that effect. But I did come across this, where he agrees, Hamdulillah al-Balamin, or whatever that he says, to Marshall Gregory.
Well, real quick, hold on before you play that. I just want to respond to Issa. Kenny's looking more like an ISIS fighter than a Kufi Muslim. Just saying, in the black sweatpants and the Nike swoosh on the side of it. But here's kind of the thing though. By Kenny arguing, okay, that you don't convict a man, okay, in a court of law if the evidence is disputed. He's presupposing that if Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl, even though it was his wife, then he did something wrong. He presupposes that fact. That is a fact to him. That if Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl, he did something wrong. Okay? And that's why Kenny is struggling with this. Although, I shouldn't say struggling with this. That's why he honestly tries to rewrite Islamic history from a 21st century mind instead of doing the opposite and say, no, just like the Jonathan Brown argument, which is kind of funny, Issa, because Kenny actually cites Jonathan Brown to defend his position, which Jonathan Brown does not hold that position. So I'm telling you, this dude has this like reading comprehension problem. Anyway, continue on. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I was.
Hey, thank you for backing up what I was saying. He's not cognitively ready.
Okay. What I was leading up to here was his view of hadith. In one sentence, he's saying that he's telling in this debate, David, that we can't trust the hadith, sahih hadith literature. And I want to play this clip where he evidently agrees that ain't all true.
Allah says in the Quran that He does not change the condition of a people until they change the conditions of themselves.
Exactly. Shukran, exactly.
Open our minds and our hearts to receiving the truth. If you're truly seeking the truth, then truly seek the truth and go to true sources and not, like you said, the Islamic.
Pick up the knowledge of Islam. Even don't even take your shahada yet.
Yeah.
Don't take it. Read the Quran, read the Hadith, read what you do in Islam.
Notice, read the Quran, read the Hadith.
The behavior, the actions, the speech, everything. Implement that.
Oh, implement that.
That's right. Allah says
all your problems are solved. Let's say Ashhadu la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad abduhu wa rasulullah.
Alhamdulillah.
There you go. Alhamdulillah. All right. So here you have him agreeing that you have to go to the Hadith literature. The Hadith literature, you can't trust it. Then why are you going to it to begin with?
I mean, man, it's amazing how these guys just contradict each other, all up and down one side the other. Man, it's crazy.
It's just kind of disgusting, is what it is. Okay.
I do think it's a little strange too, because it's like there's a lack of consistency. It's like he's trying to take a leftist position, but doesn't really want to go all the way with leftism. It's interesting because I was with Rad and him on a podcast or whatever stream, and he was like very against like transgender and stuff. And I'm just like, well, if you're taking this leftist stream, then you could argue for transgenderism as well too. So it was just an interesting, why fight this particular situation if you're mostly steeped in conservative, religious dialectic anyway.
That is his problem. That's his thing. Like I said, he presupposes the presupposition is on his point is that Muhammad is guilty of being a pervert, in his words. Seriously, he did say that. A 50-year-old man who's attracted to a 9-year-old girl is a pervert. So he presupposes. So he cannot accept that. So therefore, he has to make Aisha. He's even said like 21 years of age. Okay, and to be honest with you, well, that's then Muhammad was just a sugar daddy. You know what I mean? That's not making it any better, really. It's making it a little bit better, but Muhammad's still a sugar daddy. You know what I mean? So either way, but again, he's presupposing his 21st century knowledge on he's projecting, okay, of what he said in the first debate of modernism or whatever. You know what I mean? Okay, he's projecting that. Okay, on Muhammad, saying, well, Muhammad could, so she had to be 21 years of age. Okay, well, now Muhammad's a sugar daddy. Again, not too much better there, but go ahead. I wish I had enough money to be a sugar daddy, but I don't, so I'm not. But I'm just saying. Go ahead. I wouldn't.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's just listen to what he says here in his opening statement. Oops. I did not There we go. Okay.
And can you make sure it's all turned up on the bottom, on the volume? Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, keep on going. There you go, sir. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, here we go.
Commissioner both, and according to Little, the claim about Aisha's age was once again a part of a medieval sectarian propaganda concocted by a Sunni figure to bolster the image of Aisha against Shiite detractors. And this is why Dr. Jonathan Brown says in his work, How We Know Early Hadith Critics Did Modern Criticism, he says the following, and I quote, he says, "I'm not suggesting that Hadith critics like al-Bukhari and Ibn Hanbal were forerunners in the historical critical."
Okay, so here he's saying that the Hadith literature was developed, he's citing somebody, it was Jonathan Brown, that the Hadith literature was developed to attack Aisha. Now, they say that Aisha is supposed to be the mother of the faithful. All of this stuff comes from Iraq. And I developed a new word for Kenny last night in the chat. We call him an Iraqi-phobe because he keeps condemning all of the literature that comes out of the Abbasid Caliphate, which was up in, I think it was in Baghdad. I think it's up in Iraq, or it was up in Iraq.
Yeah.
So when we see this, and this, of course, this is Shiite. So if Kenny's not a Sunni, then I don't know exactly what he would be.
And Eric, is there anywhere in the Hadiths that all the Hadiths must be from Medina or Mecca?
No, there's nothing
for him to even make that statement to say, well, this was all in Iraq. Okay, well, where are you getting this from? He's pulling it only out of his magic hat with the rabbit. Right. So he has no validity to even condemn that it's come out of Iraq. Thank you.
And David does bring up all the other Ishnad chains. Some of them come from Mecca, some of them come from Medina, some of them come from various other places. But yeah, Kenny has a problem with Iraq, modern day, what's now considered modern day Iraq. Although back then it would have just been Mesopotamia. But no, I think where Kenny gets this, but he doesn't understand the position, is that, remember, this was during the time of the Shia. He actually kind of does bring this up a little bit, but this was during the time of the Shia. So Kenny's argument is that this dude was trying to promote to the Shia how great Aisha was. Well, how was promoting to the Shia how great Aisha was by making her 9 years old? That doesn't make sense. How does this promote to the Shia? Because the Shia hate Aisha. They think she was a harlot, and all kinds of nasty stuff. So how does making her 9 years old at the time when Muhammad had sex with her, how does that make her any better in the light of Shias? Well, Shia believed that she was 9 years old. So that's
no. Okay, so I've been in clubhouse rooms where there have been Shia Muslims, and they will say that the Sunnis have filthy minds, and it was these filthy minds that developed the Hadith literature that says that she was 9 years old. So the Shias, the Shias will actually argue the exact opposite. The Shias, which were in Iraq, would argue that she was older, and that this argument that he's making here is fallacious based on what I've heard from the Shia.
So he's making, as a Sunni, he's making the Shia argument. Wow! Congratulations, Kenny.
Yeah, this is bad because, first of all, they have no proof whatsoever. Their manuscript evidence is the biggest joke this side of eternity. They have none. They have nothing from Uthman. They have, like I've said it over and over again, they don't have one complete Quran manuscript before 1924. And the real major thorn in their side now is going to be Al-Fadi, because he's doing his thesis on this, right? They've already done some real damage about the scam. Well, that's what I like to call it. Because you can see where they have these big, huge water reserves in order to be able to feed this to 3 million uh, uh, pilgrims. There's no miracle going on here whatsoever. You know, they got desalination plants and yeah, these reserve tanks all feeding that thing. This is insane.
Yeah, and the Zamzam well is about 21 meters away from the Kaaba. So if Muhammad and Ishmael built the Kaaba, whatever you want to call it, and Hagar was indeed banished from Mecca, and the Zamzam well was revealed to her because she's running in between the mountains of Safa and Marwa, why didn't she just knock on a neighbor's door?
Yeah, and where are those
It makes
mountains?
zero sense if that's the location of the Zamzam well, or the true location of the Zamzam well. Okay, let's go ahead and go to 4220. Whoa, I just did that one. Wait a second. 4210, 4220, 4240. Okay, this is close enough.
Historical critical method, meaning that they weren't. And he's been quoting them. They weren't analyzing these hadith in that way. He says, as generations of Western scholars have demonstrated, even the revered Sahihin, the people that he's mentioned a moment ago, are replete with anachronistic reports that grew out of a political, legal, and sectarian feuds of the first 2 centuries of Islam.
Okay, I agree. You have nothing.
I do too.
Anachronistic reports within the hadith literature. You have nothing but an anachronistic literature within the Quran itself. So I agree with Kenny on this one. You do have
Yeah. Even when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I agree.
Okay, so what I want to do here is I think he was citing Joshua Little's dissertation at that time. I might be wrong on that. As a matter of fact, I think maybe he's citing Jonathan Brown there. So I'm just going to leave that alone for right now. I want to go to his concluding argument here. Let's see here, 46, 45, not close enough. And I want to point a couple things out.
Source states that when he was old, Hisham ibn Urwa's memory suffered quite badly. So in closing, I've demonstrated that no early enemy of Muhammad ever made the claim that this marriage was anything but ethical. They never say it was unethical. And I've given an overview on the opinions of multiple scholars who have questioned the reliability of all the Aisha marital hadith that were generated over time from a single unreliable source, and I'll expound upon that as we proceed. And I've also discussed the principles of hadith standards, both before and after Ibn Kathir, by the way, with scholars who disagreed with him because of the conflict that existed between the age of Aisha, quote unquote, consummation hadith and other historical events mentioned in more reliable hadith.
Okay, so here he's pointing to Joshua Little's work, and he picks it up in the rebuttal here. First off, he says no one claims the marriage was unethical. Then, if it was not unethical, then why are you trying to deny it? If this was thing was perfectly above board, like you say it is, and everybody accepted it, knowing that all of the literature prior to that said that she was 9 years old, why are you trying to deny it? I don't get that. It doesn't seem like you're being very consistent here. And he says that Joshua Little was applying this to only marriage hadith. That's not true, and I'm going to show you exactly why that is not true. And notice he did not notice in all of his argument. I would have cited it in all of his argument. He does not cite one compiler of the ahadith literature, not one compiler of the ahadith literature that says that Aisha was anything but 9 years old. Not one. Does not cite one source at all. Okay, let's go to his rebuttal. His rebuttal begins at 1 hour, 1 minute. 1 hour, 1 minute. Here we go.
Not talking about all of the hadith, like David Wood is saying. And you mentioned, as I mentioned, that Dr. Little says in his article that the Islamophobes are usually lying or deluding themselves, right? Lying or deluding themselves. David Wood is being deceptive in that he's not telling you that the hadith in question are not all hadith. Again, Dr. Joshua Little is.
I don't have that up on the screen. I'm sorry. You can hear it though, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right.
Addressing specific hadith that are related to Aisha's marital age, and all of those from Hisham ibn Urwa, not just those from Hisham ibn Urwa, but all of those from his students that all came from Iraq, where in the Al-Shafi school of thought, where child marriage is accepted.
All right. This clown, I tell you. So let's go ahead and see what this Joshua Little character has to say about the hadith literature. Let's see here. Where is it? Let me do this. Here we go. Because I actually looked this up. Little deviant kafir I am. Okay. Let's make this full screen. Okay, this is Joshua Little did an interview discussing his dissertation. And in this interview, he is talking about the ahadith literature. And if you want a copy of this, go ahead and email me and I'll send it to you. And this is what Joshua Little says about the ahadith. And this doesn't just pertain to the marriage literature that comes out of the hadith. This pertains to the totality of the hadith literature. And here's some of the comments that he makes about it. He says, prior probability of false ascription and religious historical material. So it's probably false attestation or false ascription to where this hadith came from. The earliest extant collections were recensions from 9th century onwards. The 9th century, folks, is 200 years after the death of Muhammad. The hadith are full of contradictions. A large number of the hadith suspiciously look exactly like later religious, sectarian, political, tribal, familiar, and other partisan, polemical, and apologetical creations. In other words, what he's saying is that these hadith look like they were developed in order to support current, 200 years later, current political or familiar or other, it says polemical or apologetic creations. That's what they were. So they had nothing to do with marriage. These were political in nature. Nothing to do with marriage. They said they were partisan in nature. Nothing to do with marriage. Polemical in nature. Well, that could do something with marriage, I guess. Apologetic creation. Sectarian creation. They had nothing to do. That has nothing to do with what Kenny was talking about, that they only pertain to the marriage of Aisha. That's a lie. Hadith talking about later terms, later institutions, later events, and later phenomena. And this is where you have this fact that they are, and this is my comment here, they are exactly anachronistic in nature. Then you have reports of mass fabrication within the hadith literature itself. The isnads, those people who apparently were supposed to be part of these chains of narrations, rose late and became widespread even later. So they didn't even know they were supposed to be doing this. A rapid numerical growth in hadith can be observed. So all of these things just start popping up all over the place without any proper verification. The retrojection of hadith, ratio of cited hadith changes from mostly ascribed followers, then to companions, then to the prophet. Oops, wrong button, sorry. Here we go. Hadith contradicting earlier literary and archaeological sources. And we've done several shows on Dan Gibson's work that deals with that. The orality means less precision in transmission, meaning that the oral culture is not as reliable as the written. Hadith exhibit telltale signs. Look at this. Hadith exhibit telltale signs of storyteller construction. Storyteller construction. And then the exegetical reports about the context of the Quran are exegesis in disguise. And there was no effective method for distinguishing between authentic and inaccurate hadith, despite the fact that these guys go on and yammer on consistently that they argue consistently that we can trust these hadith when you can't. And this is what Kenny was doing. David even made the comment, who would believe that there would come a day when the kuffar, somebody that's an Islamophobe, would be lending more credibility to your most trusted sources than you are. And that's what he was doing here. All right. Does anybody have anything you want to add to that? I'm sorry for belaboring the point.
That was actually needed, so it was good.
All right. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Share screen, debate, David Wood. Here we go. And we're going to go to 1 minute, 40 seconds. Oh, it's right here. Okay. Now listen to what listen to how he treats David here.
Only those hadith is he calling garbage, and so am I. So let's walk hand in hand if you want to, although I won't shake your hand because I told you earlier that I would not, and I told you why. Because again, this is comedy hour for a person like David Wood, who uses mockery and shock value and trying to make it seem that he knows something that he doesn't. Actually, he knows more than he's given than he's relaying to his followers. He's only giving you a half of the story, just like he did here today. Prime example.
Okay.
Personal attacks. There we go.
Those are ad hominems. He doesn't know the ad hominems say I just lost the debate. That's what that means.
Yeah, when David just took each book and read from them, took another book, read from it, took another book and read from it. There's no reason for him to put down David when David is just literally taking the books and reading them. Thank you.
That's exactly what he did. And I don't understand how you can hear. He's only giving you half the truth. When he's reading these hadith directly from your source, how can that be half of the truth? What other truth is there that you pray tell? I don't know.
Kenny's imaginary world, his fantasy land.
Well, that's probably what it is. I don't understand how you can go and get half the truth. Okay, this next one, I need to do something here. Hold on. Okay, let me do this. No, I don't want to do that right now. Hold on, let me put this here.
While you're doing that, and Eric, when the dear Muslims are losing a debate, that's what they always revert to. Is calling us names, saying we don't know what we're reading when we're just reading the sources. That's all we're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but you can read it in Arabic,
And my response to that, I contact my friends who speak Arabic as their native tongue and have it translated when I'm not sure what it is. So
he actually tried to
do that
argument.
Yeah.
This is what.
Then I asked them, "Can you do that?" And they don't usually respond because they don't normally know Arabic.
But also, Eric, the thing is what I tell them is, well, your own Arabic scholars are translating it into English. So you're wanting to throw them under the bus when they are taking the Arabic words and writing them down in English.
Right, and
that's all I tell them.
They attack them.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they attack the translators? The translators are just translating it directly from the Arabic. But actually, they're not even translating directly from the classical Arabic that didn't have any diacritical marks. And there's been a lot of work being done lately. That I got a couple books over here that I gotta dedicate some time to reading those. I think I'll start that in June or something when I have a little more time. But it talks about how the language itself was a development from the Aramaic, and the Aramaic that they developed it from was nothing but church homilies, hymns, and things.
Hymns.
But I gotta tighten up my shot group before I go on to comment on that. But this one right here, I started spamming the chat after he said this. Okay, let me put this up here. Here we go.
To the messenger of Allah, and he took up cohabitation with me when I was 9. Now, note, none of these hadith in question, not a single one says the prophet had sex with me when I was 9. None of them say that. So why would translators?
Okay.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Live
show it.
fire, pants on fire.
What does consummated mean?
Well, no. Oh, no. We're getting to
Oh
that.
wait, yeah, wait. No, you got to
Yeah,
get
let's
over.
wait on
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
Slow down. It's okay. Slow down here. Hold on. Let me
Yeah.
get this up here. Notice what he said. He says, none of the hadith say that he had sex with me. And then he made this big to-do about what the word consummated means. And we're going to get to that.
Oh, you got to play that.
Well, hold on. Watch this. Watch this. Where am I? Right here. No, I'm not. Come on, Kafir. Let's get it up there. Share window. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. You're right there. Bada shwoom. Aisha said, she was there. The Apostle of Allah married me when I was 7 years old. He had intercourse with me when I was 9 years old. Okay, so technically, Kenny's right. None of the Hadith literature say that he had sex with her. But the Hadith literature most certainly do say and allude to sex, the consummation of a marriage. And David went on to explain this in his rebuttal when they have their discussions. He said, look, the marriage at that time was a process, and that process was the betrothal, and then that period before the wedding itself, then the wedding, and then the consummation. The consummation of the wedding, of the marriage, was in fact the two coming together as one, having sexual intercourse. That's what he explained it as. But I want to go in and I want to show you guys something here. Let's do this. Okay, now this was the slide I made for today's show. I had, I tell you what, I have a little too much fun when I do things like this. But I even changed this graphic, and I had to comment that the guy that I have here, or the body I have here, was just a little too thin. And that there may be some truth to that. But Kenny used this picture of David Wood at the beginning of the debate. Anyway, okay, so let's just look at all of the hadiths that point to Aisha being 9 years old. Let's just take a quick look at these. And okay, she said this is Sahih Bukhari. And he consummated the marriage when she was 9 years old. Sahih Bukhari consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. And she reigned with him for 9 years. So 9 years old, and 9 years later, how old is she going to be when
18.
18. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9. Okay, Bukhari says, I used to play with the dolls in the presence of the Prophet. And then Tabari, in that work that I cited from earlier, comments, it says the playing with dolls and the similar image is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at the time as she was a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty. So Al-Tabari says that Aisha had not reached the age of puberty. And then last week, when we went to what Al-Asqalani said about this, I think I put Al-Asqalani in here, as a matter of fact, he said that she hadn't reached puberty by the time of the age of the Battle of Khaybar, which was in 629, which is much later than this.
Let me just state the problem with that. Okay, so Kenny will argue, okay, that clearly she was much older at the Battle of Khaybar. She was 14. If that's the case, okay, then Aisha was playing with dolls, okay, meaning Muhammad implicitly and explicitly, okay, allowed for Aisha to commit idolatry, or that she was still too immature. So if she was 14 when Muhammad was having sex with her, but still playing with dolls, she was still, because what does Kenny and Muslims like to say? No, it's maturity. They have to be psychologically ready to have it. Well, well, if she's still immature enough to play with dolls to be allowed in Islam, then guess what? She wasn't psychologically mature enough to have sex. In other words, like I said, he's arguing on a dilemma. He swings through. Okay, fine. Aisha was committing idolatry at the bequest of Muhammad. Okay, or she was too immature to have sex because she was playing with dolls. Either way, Islam is screwed. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. All right. Let me keep blowing through these hadith literature. So you have Muslim saying that she was 9 years old. Sahih Muslim again. She was 9 and her dolls were with her. She was a bride brought to his house and died when she was 18 years old. So Muslim is lining up with what Bukhari had to say, that she lived with him for 9 additional years. Aisha said here in Sunan Abu Dawud, he had intercourse with me when I was 9 years old. The messenger of Allah married when I was 6, consummated the marriage with me when I was 9 years old. Sunan al-Nasi. Sunan al-Nasi says again, Aisha, the messenger of Allah, married me when I was 9, and I lived with him for 9 years. Again, Nasi says Allah remarried her when she was 9, and he died when she was 18 years old. So these dates are lining up. How could she ever be 21 if these dates in the Sahih literature say something different? Sunan ibn Majah says that the Prophet married Aisha when she was 7 years old, consummated the marriage when she was 9, and passed away when she was 18. Notice how these dates line up. And then Ibn Kathir, the Prophet married her when she was 6 years old, consummated the marriage at the age of 9. And this is what we were talking about. There is no dispute among anyone on this matter. And here's what Ascalani says. The playing of dolls, or no, Ascalani, was this Ascalani? Ascalani also commented on this, he's quoting Tabari here is what he's doing. And this is what Tabari has to say. And he says that he admits, my marriage was consummated when I was 9 years old. And then if you look at the Sirah of Muhammad, it says he married Aisha in Mecca when she was a child of 7 and lived with her in Medina when she was 9 or 10. Notice it doesn't say 21, 14, 16, 18, or whatever. It says 9 or 10. And this is the only one that says that she was something different than 10. And then when you look at the
different than 9, you mean, right? Yeah, it's the only one that gives her that. The oldest age given is 10. Is Kenny saying that's moral?
Yeah, well, he evidently is. And then if you look at the Quran itself, the God of the universe is saying that you can divorce little girls that have not yet menstruated. And then if you want to look at what the compilers, the commentators on it, the Ibn Abbas, who was contemporaneous with Muhammad, was talking about, because they are menstruated, commenting on this verse, is that they are too young. Why? Because they have not menstruated, because they're too young, because of their young age. Ibn Kathir, the same with the young who have not reached years of menstruation. And then Al-Jalalain, those who have not menstruated because of their young age. They all say that she was 9 years old. All say that. Let's see here. We cannot know if she married. That's from last time. And this is a pedophilic disorder from the DSM that I decided to put up there. And it says there are 3 criteria. An individual has arousing fantasies about, urges, or behaviors with a prepubescent child or children. The individual has, that would be Muhammad, the individual has acted out these sexual desires or has experienced significant distress or difficulty as a result of these desires. Muhammad acted these desires out when he consummated and had sex work, according to their most trusted sources. And the individual is 16 years of age. Muhammad was 54, and at least 5 years older than the child. He was 45 years older than Aisha. That's pedophilia, and it's sick, and it's wrong. And yet,
Q and R. Kelly, age ain't nothing but a number. Where's R. Kelly at right now? Oh,
who's R. Kelly? Is that rapper guy or somebody that?
Yeah, from Chicago. He's now serving like multiple life sentences. Yeah.
What did he do? Did he rape?
He was sexually molesting underage girls for years, and it was ignored because he was a popular rapper. But then he all of a sudden, guess what? Didn't produce a gold album for a couple years, and they said, "Okay, fine, we can now take him to trial," and they did.
Poor guy. Not sick. I hope he rots there, and he gets what he deserved. Okay,
and the people that ignored it for a couple of years, They're even worse.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the people that facilitate that. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Okay, let's. I'm running out of material here. I'm going too fast. Okay.
Are we done with? Oh, there you go.
No, we got a little more to go. Here we go.
Double standards of David Wood. Again, according to the Bible, Isaac married the possibly 3 to 10-year-old Rebecca, and
3
that
to
evidence
10
is
years old.
debatable. And Mary, the mother of Jesus, peace be upon them
Possibly
both,
3 to
is
10
depicted
years
as marrying
old.
the 90 to 80 to 9-year-old Joseph when she was 11 or 12 years old. The evidence is there is debatable. So were those marriages ethical and consummated? And did those couples
No,
cohabit with one another? Is it possible they ever?
Stop. First of all, the evidence is there, but it's debatable.
No, it's
No,
not.
there is no evidence.
That's a
So
lie.
there's no debate. I know, right? Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
He calls her
Okay,
woman
so
in both cases.
they keep repeating this thing of Rebecca. And it was brought up in the last debate. Okay. And see, people do not understand this because the Muslim actually said this was Talmud. It's not. It is explicitly Rashi. This is Rashi's interpretation. It is not Talmud. It is not Mishnah. No. There is everybody. No. Seriously. Okay. But they're saying that Rebecca, while she's watering camels, carrying water in the Levant, okay, as a little girl, enough. I mean, seriously, even some dude brought up a question mark.
Hey,
Have you ever
yeah,
met
pail
a
of
girl?
water.
Okay, how many, Brad, how many things of water can you carry for your family? When she's sent
Me?
out as a child, you're providing water for your family. That's a lot of water. Are you
And
telling me a
camels.
toddler can do that?
Exactly. And again, that's why the one Christian who questions the last Muslim, it's like, do you know any 3-year-olds? Because it's like, no, the maturity, they can be mature enough. What are they, 3 years old and 6 foot tall? You know what I mean? 3 years old,
Yeah.
5'7", 140 pounds. I mean, come on, dude. This is stupid. Again, this is Rashi's interpretation. The other one on Joseph being 90 years old, that's a late medieval Catholic interpretation, okay? Or not even an interpretation. It's a Catholic presupposition by, I'm sure these monks were kind of doing something funky and they had to justify something. You know what I mean? But either way, nobody believes that. Okay? I mean, there is, whatever. I mean, that's just stupidity. But anyway, I digress. Sorry.
Yeah.
Here's what the Bible says about that. It's in Genesis chapter 24, and here's what it says. And it happened before he had finished speaking that, behold, Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milach, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with a pitcher on her shoulder. A pitcher of water on her shoulder. Now the young little girl of 3 years old was very beautiful. No, it doesn't say that. Now the young woman was very beautiful to behold, a virgin, no man had known her, and she went down to the well, filled her pitcher, and came up. So in other words, these wells, this isn't like where you see somebody cranking on a rope, it goes down and brings up water. No, the wells normally had a walkway that would go down into the well, and then you would draw the water from the water table, that's that low, and then you would bring the water pitcher to the top. So you'd have to walk up those steps again. And it goes on to say, and the servant ran to meet her and said, please let me drink a little water from your pitcher. So she said, drink, my lord. And then she quickly let her pitcher down to her hand and gave him a drink. Now, listen to this part. And when she had finished giving him a drink, she said, I will draw water for your camels also until they have finished drinking.
Will a 3-year-old have the energy for that?
Not only is she, this 3-year-old, going down and lugging up a pitcher of water on her shoulder, but also she's going down continually to draw enough water for what? All the camels that this guy had.
Yeah, she's lowering the bucket down into the well and bringing it back up and then hauling it to the camels.
So this,
dude, she's Supergirl, man.
But
I'll admit, I think she's maybe 16, 17, somewhere in that age period, because this is a high level energy, a great desire to please. And we're talking about late teens. You're not going to see that with the early teens. You just don't.
here's something that you guys need to know. Genesis 17:17. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed and said unto his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old, and shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? All right. So number one, Sarah was 90 when Abraham was 100. Okay. That's Genesis 17:17. Abraham was 100 when Isaac was born. That's Genesis 21:5. Sarah died at age 127. It's Genesis 23, 1 to 2. And Isaac was 40 when he married Rebekah, Genesis 25 to 20. Two further facts are necessary inferences from the above four facts. Isaac was 90 when Isaac was born, conclusion from 1 and 2. Isaac was 37 when the mother, Sarah, died, because 127 minus 90 is 37. These six facts alone do not supply sufficient information to work out Rebekah's age when Isaac married her. Okay, and that the traditions that you mentioned, since Isaac was 37 at his mother's death, he was 37 when Rebekah was born. This is an inference that they're making. Since Isaac was 40 when he married Rebekah, Rebekah would be 3 when the marriage took place, because 40 minus 37 is 3. But these two inferences are spurious because they are based not on what the scripture says in Genesis 22 or 23, but rather what is said in non-biblical tradition. Right. The argument is, at 7 and 8 above hinges entirely on the assertion that Rebekah was born at the same time as Sarah died. Hello. If Rebekah was born a decade or so before Sarah's death, Rebekah would be a young woman of childbearing age, not of 3. So there you have it.
He also, if you notice, that he also went after Joseph and Mary. And the common thing, and nowhere in the Bible does it provide an age for Rebekah. Nowhere in the Bible does it provide an age for Mary. It actually, sorry, somebody's calling me. Bye. Notice it doesn't provide an age for Rebekah, nor does it provide an age for Mary. All of these are inferences, but the Bible does refer to them as women. Do you call a 3-year-old a woman? Do you call a 9-year-old a woman? You would call them, and the Bible often refers to girls of that age as girls. Never does it refer to anyone of that age as a woman. And look what he's trying to do here. Notice what he's trying to do. He's saying, okay, well, if you think Muhammad's a scumbag for being a pedophile, then look what Isaac did. Look what Joseph did. Now think about this for a second. He's trying to hold up the pattern of conduct for all time, Muhammad. And then he's saying, look, these other guys in the Bible did these things too, so that must make it all right. Since when are we supposed to follow the pattern of conduct for Isaac?
Well, it gets worse. It gets worse than that, Eric. It gets worse than that.
Go ahead.
Because Allah confirmed the Torah. He confirmed the Torah. Genesis is in the Torah. He confirmed all of it. Kenny, you're destroying your Allah buddy. You're telling Allah he's wrong, where he's confirmed all of it.
The Bible's been corrupted.
Well,
show us the original. Show us the original.
To continue on with what Eric was saying, okay, are we to follow David and commit adultery? Are we to follow King Saul? I would like to follow King Saul. We have 700 wives, but then that would be 700 mother-in-laws, because that would be. I know, I get it. I mean, no, the nightmare.
Glutton for punishment.
You know what I mean? That's 700 honey to-do lists and 700 mother-in-laws. No, forget about it. But no, seriously, okay? Are we to follow these people? Are we to follow um Joseph's brothers who sold him into slavery? Are we to follow Abraham? Who you know what I mean? No, we okay, we are not to follow these people. These people, yes, their example that we are to follow is that even though they were wretched sinners, they still turned to God. You know what I mean? They didn't give up and become evil. Even though they had done evil and wicked things in the sight of God, they did not give up on God. They held on to God and they turned to God, okay, in their time of need and in their time of repentance, okay? And this is something Muslims do not understand. They have this concept of these perfect human beings. They are not perfect human beings except for Jesus Christ. He is the only example we are to follow, okay? And the only other example of the prophets, okay, those that mentioned in the Bible, is if they returned to God, if they repented. And that is the whole point. Actually, it even says about David, okay, a man after God's own heart, because he returns to me. He repents to me, okay? And you know what I mean?
Notice
But
he
anyway,
didn't
I
get
digress.
revelations from God or inspiration from God to allow him to continue to sin. That's
Exactly.
the
He was
biggest
he was
difference.
punished. No, dude, one of my favorite verses of the Bible. David's this warrior. He's this badass dude. He is. I mean, yeah, he is. Oh, he is awesome. But God says to him, "The temple shall be built by your children, not by you, because you have shed too much blood.
Yeah.
So much blood have you shed that you will not be able to build the temple." And it says it multiple times, because he has shed so much blood. Okay? You know what I mean? So again, the Muslims line of argument, it's not just Kenny, it was the other Muslim who argued this as well, is fallacious at best. But again, Kenny, the thing is, if Muhammad is the perfect example to mankind, and you think we are trying to convict him and make him guilty of something, then that's something and you are denying that something happened, then that means that thing that did happen, you would find him guilty, and that is the problem. But anyway,
And Jesus didn't do that. Muhammad did. Hello.
All right, I want to make a real quick admin note that everybody is in the chat right now. If you can go ahead and like the video on your screen, I'd appreciate that. There's something about the algorithm that YouTube does, and it's driven by the number of likes the video has. And I meant to do it when we had over 20 listeners, but
actually, comment when comments become available. Comment, that actually drives it more.
Okay.
The more comments we get, the more it comes out. That
And
actually does it more.
like and subscribe also. Oh wait, I did say like, subscribe. What was the other? Share. There you go. Share. Okay. This is. If you ever want to see how desperate somebody is, remember, like, share, subscribe. Please hit that like button. This is it right here. Watch this right here. This is desperation par excellence.
Consummation and cohabitation, these words are synonymous according to thesaurus.plus. It says cohabitation and consummation are semantically the same. So consummation, defined by dictionary.com, is to bring to a state of perfection, to fulfill, build, establish. No mention of sex being required for that. To complete an arrangement or agreement or the like by the pledge of a signing of a contract. They use the example, the company consummated its deal to buy a smaller firm. No sex was required for that deal to go through. Merriam-Webster goes on to say that consummation is described as the consummation of a contract by mutual signature. You can consummate a deal by mutual signature, no sex required. They say specifically the consummation of marriage through mutual agreement. Again, a couple can get married. They don't necessarily have to have sex. Of course, they're probably going to eventually.
The desperation.
Okay.
They're talking about buying property, making an agreement, and things like that. Nothing of marriage.
He purposely skipped the first definition.
Yes. Yes. I'm trying to find where I have this up here. Let's see here. Consummation as it relates. Okay. This is Google. Here we go. This is this. Okay. So here's what, just a quick Google search. I mean, I did this. Let me make it bigger. Hopefully I won't lose what my.
It's fine. We're fine.
Okay. So notice I put consummation as it relates to marriage. Notice I'm not writing consummation as it relates to cohabitating, consummation as it relates to business deals. I'm not asking that.
Right.
How is the word? I mean, the context is everything. And this is what he wants to completely dismiss. And this is how people who are desperate to convolute what the message is, this is what they do. So here's what consummate means, according to just a quick Google search. It says, in the context of marriage, consummation means the actualization of marriage. It is the first act of sexual intercourse after marriage between a husband and a wife. And notice what it says, goes on to say, consummation is particularly relevant under canon law, where failure to consummate a marriage is ground for divorce or an annulment. So the very one act, this is what's so crazy about it. I typed into chat. I think I caught that in the chat. Let me see if I can bring this up and not have, if you can see here in the chat on this. Let me bring this up, because I was astounded, and sometimes you feel bad for somebody because they're getting trounced so bad in a debate. But look what I typed into chat here. Look at right here. It says over here, crossing the Crescent discussion group. That was me. No, he's lying. That's not what I wrote. Let me see if, let's see. I said it was equivocation. I misspelled equivocation. But I wrote in there, I guess it was further down. Is he really trying to make this argument? Is what I basically wrote. I could not believe he was trying to make that argument. Let me see if I have it here even further. Maybe not. Here it is. Is he really making this argument about that? I couldn't. Sometimes you see people making. It's like Nadir Ahmed making arguments. For Michael Brown. Michael Brown asks you a specific question about who the brethren is. Nadir completely ignores that and tries to change the subject. I think we can agree to disagree. No, we can't. We cannot disagree. We cannot agree to disagree on what the word consummation means as it applies to marriage or the marital act. And this is what Kenny was trying to get everybody to believe. And I would say, well, he failed miserably. Okay. Here is another. Does anybody have anything want to add to that? I figure we get everybody jumping on the bandwagon on that one.
I just say Kenny actually made his fellow constituents even more confused by what he said.
I think he's destroying Islam, and that he doesn't realize he's destroying the Sunni faith by what he's saying.
I agree. He's basically lying to his followers. Okay, dictionary.com, consummate, complete the union of marriage by the first marital sexual intercourse. Yeah. So
Yeah, Kenny read from that. That was one also that Kenny read from dictionary.com. And I looked it up, but he would not read that one.
Exactly. Notice the one definition of what consummate means that he did not read.
Kenny, you're being dishonest, buddy.
No, don't say that.
Oh, okay, hold on. I object. I object to calling Kenny or any Muslim or Democrat a liar. I really do. Because if you call them a liar, that presupposes they have the ability to tell the truth. Clearly, they do not have that ability. So there is something wrong with them. I mean, seriously, that you can sit there and argue that consummate and quote dictionary definitions to a live audience, to not only just a live audience, you hear them all laughing at him. Okay, but something that is on record and being streamed will be on the internet forever. Okay, All right, to say no, it doesn't mean having sex. The definition does say that. The one that you didn't read. You know what I mean? And actually, David brought it up. He's like, no, here's the definition. I have dictionary.com right here. I have Webster's dictionary right here. And he reads from it. You know what I mean? It is just completely insane. But yeah, do we got how much time we got? I'm running out. You got to play
I
the
like that, Darcy.
cross examination.
Hold
You
on.
got to, yeah. I mean, that was just brilliant.
Okay, one more. Okay, this one. Let's see here. Here we go.
When the doors are closed and the curtains are drawn, nudity is seen, the bride is entitled her mahar, the bridal gift, and inheritance, and must complete the waiting period before sex can take place. So therefore, they are living together in an ethical marriage, consummated, cohabiting with and without, with before and after sex.
Okay.
So she's 6 years old, 3 months.
So what he's arguing,
Well,
he's arguing that you do not have to have sex in order to consummate a marriage, and the reason why is because the hadith literature is filled with Aisha was I was 9 when the prophet consummated the marriage with me. Well, what does consummate? We don't know what consummate means. We can't possibly know. We might be just signing a contract or something along. So he has to muddy the waters here. But he's saying that you don't have to have sex to consummate a marriage. Okay, when we look at 65:4, chapter 65, which deals with divorce, I do not see any plausibility in there that where you could say, because when you say, okay, you have to give a young girl who is too young to menstruate 3 months for her iddah. Why is that? Why are you giving her 3 months?
Because he had sexual intercourse with her.
Right, because it provides it says earlier, you don't have to give them an iddah if you have not consummated that marriage. Well, what is
3349?
Yeah.
3349.
What does consummate mean? Well, that means your
sexual intercourse.
Right, sexual intercourse for the marriage. So he's not making any sense, and he's being consistently inconsistent throughout the entire debate. Okay, so what did you want to go to, Rad? You were talking about.
Well, I was just thinking. I mean, I didn't mark it out, but the 25 minutes. We don't have the 25 minutes unless we can stay later. But where they're going at it now, I do think David Wood spent a little bit too much time on the only scholar that Kenny seemed to quote, the Kufar scholar. But not actually. No, Kenny, dude, actually play the first part of that. That 5-10 minutes. It's gonna be 5 minutes or so where Kenny just doesn't get it. I mean, the dude, David Wood is quoting from the guy saying all hadiths, okay, are corrupt. You cannot believe any hadith. He's laying out his methodology, and Kenny says no, because he is writing specifically on the hadiths relating to Aisha. That means he's only talking about those hadiths. No, Kenny. He's using the example of those hadiths, which, by the way, the reason why he's using it is because they are the most attested hadiths. They are the most widely known hadiths. They're the hadiths that have the biggest scholarship, Islamic scholarship backing. He's using that as an example to show that all the other hadiths are complete garbage. You know what I mean? I mean, if we got time to play that, or
he destroyed Islam. That's just what I keep saying. He totally destroyed Islam. He didn't do Islam any favors.
You know what would be a good video? You know what would be a good debate, Kenny? If you are listening, you need to debate the guy that came before you. Debate him.
Daniel.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Do that one next week. Again, I want to remind everybody in the chat to go ahead and like the video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet.
Comment when comments become available. That's very important.
Yeah, we've gotten back up to 20. Who's this? Oh, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Married Steve. Married
Hey.
Steve, did you consummate your marriage the night that you got
Oh.
married? Steve, did you consummate your marriage? And does it mean intercourse? Does it mean sexual intercourse?
Oh, he sat there at the table until
Come
1
on.
in the morning by
We got to get him.
dining.
He's not
And
3 years
Steve,
old.
Steve.
Man, he's going to be a living witness here.
And Steve, what are you
Steve,
doing in Al
wait.
Potty's house?
Steve,
Thank
since
you
you're just
for
joining
this
us,
picture.
since you're just joining us, I don't
Poor
know how much
guy.
you heard. Steve, I don't know how much you just heard, and the reason why they all ask you these personal questions is because Kenny said that Kenny in the debate said consummate the marriage doesn't mean having sex. Some reason I don't know how he came to this conclusion.
No. Consummate the marriage, you guys. That means that she washed the dishes.
Oh,
I love it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, guys. Now that's the
I'd be
ancient
careful going
Greek.
home after that one. Oh my gosh.
welcome back. Are you back from Israel? Are you back from Israel? You still chilling? Are you back? I'm
Yes.
so jealous of you. I gotta get that big honking cross, man. Get me a woman. That
So,
seems to be the trick, man. You know what I
I
mean?
tell you what, man, that's not all that cross does, man. We should have seen what happened today, man.
Uh-oh.
It was very interesting, man, because I didn't realize we went out witnessing. I forgot that today is the day after Eid al-Fitr, the holiday after Ramadan.
Right.
And they were steaming, man. And
video?
We do have some video.
Woohoo.
Yeah, but yeah, interesting day. So I
Post
just
the video. Well, tell us what happened. Haven't seen you, brother.
Well, you know what? I don't want to change the course here, what you guys are talking about and everything. But just had some very interesting encounters. Had one girl come up with a Muslim guy. She says her parents are Christians, but she's with a Muslim guy, and she's angry at us because she thinks it's so disrespectful because Muslims love Jesus just as much as the Christians do. And she's coming to teach us Arabic because she wanted to tell us how to say Jesus in Arabic. It's Isa. And I said, no, according to Christians, it's Yesur, not Isa. And she was furious, man. And she had her boyfriend with her. But you know what? I think she's a Christian who's being seduced to marrying a Muslim. She's in love with him. And she's, begun the downward spiral. But I really think that, and my wife was with me today, and she's the one that really was talking to her. And I think it maybe saved her life, So,
when they ask those questions, the thing that I ask is, what prayers do you say to Jesus? If you say you respect Jesus, what prayers is it you say to Jesus? And I get crickets.
Yeah. Well, I told her, no, Jesus is the Son of God, and in Islam, he's just a little man. He's just a little prophet, smaller than Muhammad, and you know what? It was so interesting to watch her reaction because she agreed he's the Son of God. But when I told her that in Islam, he's just a little man, just a little prophet, the boyfriend started squirming then because I think he's been lying to her, telling her, oh, we respect Jesus. And so I think she didn't know that in Islam, he's not the Son of God. He's just a little man, So anyway.
Wow,
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
You just walked that
videos, especially
Wow.
your live videos on Facebook, because they always pop up, and I can sit there watching Steve gets yelled and screamed at all the time. I don't say quality entertainment, it's quality
You
entertainment.
gotta look.
This
Oh,
is
black dog! Hold on, not in my house.
Oh,
my goodness,
come into our house, you guys, because look what do I got. You guys, I gotta go, man. So love you guys. Hope
Love you,
All right, thanks,
Steve.
brother.
You got it.
Post the
Take care,
videos,
brother.
brother. Post the videos. All right, later, brother.
God bless you. Have a wonderful day, guys.
Steve's got a book out called, what's the name of that book? Not Infidel. What's it called?
Oh, the apostate.
Yeah, no, the one that has you getting shot at in Palestine.
Oh yeah, the apostate.
The
Yeah.
apostate, yeah. So if you want to go to Amazon, you can download it on a Kindle.
Thank you for doing that.
Right, yeah, and read his story. He's got a great testimony. All right, thanks, Steve.
So much, brother.
Appreciate you, brother. Okay, well, that took us to the end of the hour, and I've got to go. Again, everybody that is in chat, I appreciate you guys coming so very much and contributing there. Make sure that you like, share, and comment on the video. And if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do. The more of this information that gets out, the more people that can hear it, see it, and disseminate it, the easier it makes the jobs of all the guys that do this type of work of exposing Islam for what it is, and the people who try to proselytize and do dawah and catch them in their lies. And Steve just gave us a great example of how that is done and how subtle it can be when people do it. Okay, folks, thank you again for coming this Sunday. Maybe next week we'll either do the cross. What was it, Rad? You wanted to do the crossfire?
Yeah, the crossfire. Or let's do a review of the other debate.
Okay.
Actually, we can do. I'll see if I can put together a video where Kenny debates the other dude because you know what I mean. But no, seriously, Kenny, if you're listening, because we know you will be, leave it, dude. The very fact, okay, that you have a problem, okay, a serious problem, that you find it to be a criminal offense, that you find it something that you would have to find Muhammad, your perfect example to mankind, guilty of something, okay? No, seriously, like David Wood said, there's an easier solution. Leave Islam. And anyway, with that, go to the cold close, please.
And our responsibility, folks, is to pray for these people. That's Christ himself tells us to pray for them, and we do. I do. And even though it's hard, it truly is hard. But a sincere prayer and doing it continually gets a lot easier, and I can attest to that. All right. Thanks for coming, and we will see you next week on the Crossing the Crescent discussion show. God bless you all.